Commissioner White, your conversation with our on-site attendees here at the 2025 Financial Regulator Program was insightful. You talked about, among other things, your journey as a regulatory professional. And I wonder if you might share a bit about your background in that journey with our audience of remote attendees.
Yeah, happy to, Frank, and it's just been great being here. You know, I'm in my 8th year as commissioner, and one thing you notice when you become commissioner is all the different roads and journeys different commissioners who I've worked with through the many years, came to get to this position. I'm among a relatively small slice of commissioners who have spent most of their career in the field of insurance regulation. It's kind of a truism. Nobody goes to college to become an insurance regulator. You just somehow stumble into it, for lack of a better word. So the way I stumbled into it, I went to law school in Missouri from Virginia, planning to spend my career in St. Louis after I graduated. I worked at a small law firm. But we decided, my fiance and later wife decided to move back to Virginia, where we had family and had kids. So I came back waiting to get the bar results for Virginia. I wasn't licensed to practice. I didn't have a job. And so I needed employment. And so I was able to secure part-time employment with the Virginia Bureau of Insurance. While I searched for work, I assumed I would work at a middle-sized or large law firm. But after only a few weeks, I realized maybe this is something I could spend some time doing. And I'd worked at a very pressure-packed law firm experience, did not enjoy it, and I was just really struck with the type of work, the public service aspect. What really amazed me was the people I worked around and the work culture, how intelligent these non-lawyers were. They seemed a lot smarter than I was. So I quickly went from a research analyst in the Bureau up into our Office of Legal Counsel, and I spent about 20 years doing that. Took opportunities where they came to learn different parts of insurance regulation. I loved every piece of it, so I started doing agent enforcement because I had a little litigation background. Moved into when the ACA was adopted. It was all hands on deck, so I threw myself in learning that. I began working on financial regulation matters. So I got a great kind of a portfolio of different areas of expertise that helped land me the position as insurance commissioner, which is a different skill set, but it's still every day really learning new things, and that's what we always emphasize. Whatever your job is, whether you're a research analyst, a financial examiner, or the commissioner, it's on-the-job training every day, given the speed at which the industry's changed and all the complex laws and regulations. So I'm thankful every day I go into work.
Well, we thank you for your service. I'm certain the folks in Virginia do as well. I want to shift gears a bit and ask, if you would, for just a moment or two, perhaps to talk big picture about how you define the primary aims of state insurance codes throughout the United States. I think that's an important concept, especially for some folks who might be new in the regulatory environment.
It is. It's something to always keep top of mind. The foundation of our regulatory system and framework is based on consumer protection. And what does that mean? I mean, it really means making sure the insurance companies, the industry, make good on their promises and their obligations to policyholders. So we make sure that occurs through different objectives. I would start with this audience, financial solvency, right? I mean, it's critical that they have sufficient reserves and capital to pay claims down the road. That's been particularly a growing cause of concern with companies that have long duration liabilities, such as annuity companies, life insurance companies, long-term care companies has been a challenge. So you start with that. And then you have the market regulation, right? Making sure they pay claims in a fair way. And then alongside that, we review the contract itself and the price in the contract to make sure customers or policyholders are treated fairly and in compliance with our state's law. We always have to mention, and again, a growing concern, affordability and availability of products alongside a robust marketplace. These are somewhat twin aims, but so you want to foster innovation within this industry, but have laws and regulations and administration of those laws and regs that make sure consumers are protected. So that's a fairly simple framework, but underlying that are very complex set of laws and regulations that we have to adhere to, and that's why it's so important to have not only our state, but collaborating with the other states, organizations like this, so we're all on top of things as we, on a day-to-day basis, try to fulfill our obligation to protect consumers.
Thank you. During our conversation with our live attendees, both you and former director of the Illinois Department, Dana Popish-Severinghaus, talked a bit about the strength of our U.S.-based system of insurance regulation, uniquely a state-based system undergirded by the McCarran-Ferguson Act, as former Director Severinghaus spoke to. I'm curious, for the benefit of folks who are new to this discipline of regulation of insurance, could you help perhaps compare and contrast our U.S.-based system with systems abroad?
Yes, and so I would start by pointing out that there has been an ongoing debate between our, you talk about the systems abroad, their regulatory framework is very different from the U.S. Even apart from the state-based system, our financial solvency network frameworks are very different. After the great financial crisis, at the international level, they did a number of things to make sure that there was more alignment and consistency among jurisdictions across the globe, and that led to this project that just ended last year on the creation of a group capital standard, a project that revealed sharp disagreements between the U.S. and other jurisdictions and issues like when intervention should occur at a group level, how much capital should companies hold. It gets into issues of do we want to encourage certain long duration asset products, or we want to make sure have a heightened sense of conservatism around holding capital. And so we had to go through that education process and ultimately developed a different capital standard, one in line with the insurance capital standard, but one in which we went our different way and said we do it differently in the U.S. Ultimately, we get to the same place where those differences converge into a system. What are the main differences? We tried to educate them on. I think we were successful. I think there's a growing understanding of our system that we place less emphasis strictly on capital requirements. We certainly have different views in terms of reserving, where theirs is more it's more fair market value and more principles based, where ours is it's more amortized and more prescriptive. Now we are moving into principles based reserving, and I think that's where you talk about that convergence. But another piece of it is what we learned is they do far less financial monitoring and reliance on examinations and analysis. We have much more of a built-in early warning system, right? So before we get to that minimum level of RBC that triggers supervisor intervention, we know there are problems, right? And we're able to intervene, collaborate with the companies within the holding company, with other jurisdictions, and make sure that they are making changes to address whatever concerns there may be with their reserve requirements or their capital. So we're very confident we have a strong system, and in order to have that system, you have to have the regulators that are able to administer and regulate what is very complex, what I call the early warning system, that seems to be lacking somewhat in other jurisdictions.
Commissioner White, a final question for you, if I may. Any parting advice for junior regulators eager to learn, grow, eager to develop and advance their careers?
Yeah, well, as I tell my daughter, you show up early, you do the work that's given to you, get it done in time and ask for more, and you're going to move up the chain pretty quick, right? And also taking advantage of educational opportunities. As I just talked about, there's so much complexity now with being a regulator, particularly in the financial area, that was not the case when I came back in the late 90s. You think of climate modeling, you think of investment analytics, you think of AI regulation, particularly with IT exams that's done in the financial area. Any number of things have gotten so much more complex, and it's not that you have to be an expert in that, but you have to to ask the right questions. You not only have to know the law, but you have to know the environment around these laws and the industry. What's the inflation environment, consumer expectations. So it really just it requires you to be curious intellectually. You're asking questions and learning as much as possible. So for those who are interested in this, or those who are here now, that tells me that you have the right aptitude to succeed in this field, and there'll be plenty of opportunities. As we know, people are retiring in our insurance departments. very quickly, more so than we would like, and so it creates a real environment where you can work your way up and really make a difference in what's a very important area of our financial services industry.
Commissioner Scott White of Virginia, President-elect of the NAIC. Thank you for being with us today, and thanks for visiting On Camera.
Thanks, it was great.